Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on Independence Day, the 4th of July, as most of us call it. It's easy to think of it as just, BBQs and fireworks. But the story we found in our sources is so much richer. This isn't just another holiday on the calendar. It's packed with, honestly, incredible courage, real high-stakes drama, and the very beginnings of a national identity. So, our mission today, to explore the origins, let's say the complex meaning and the legacy of this really crucial day.
Crucial is definitely the word. July 4th, 1776, that's the date stamped on the Declaration of Independence, the day the 13 colonies basically said, we're doing this, we're a new nation. But getting there, as our research showed, it was anything but simple. It was fraught, tense, filled with huge personalities and decisions that could have gone either way.
Okay, yeah, let's dig into that. Let's set the scene a bit. The Declaration. Mostly Jefferson's work, right? It wasn't just a "we quit" note to Britain. It was this big philosophical statement, carefully laying out why they were leaving, their whole vision for governing themselves. It's powerful stuff we still talk about.
Absolutely. And you have to understand just how bold that move was. We need to rewind a bit. Tensions. They'd been simmering for, at least a decade. And what's really interesting is how British policies kept kind of backfiring, pushing the colonies together almost by accident. Remember the Stamp Act, 1765?
Right. Tax on paper, stamps, documents.
Exactly. But for the colonists, it wasn't just the money. It felt like a fundamental attack on their rights as Englishmen. That whole no taxation without representation thing really caught fire. It sparked massive protests. Parliament had never seen resistance like that, not from the colonies.
And it wasn't just debates and letters, was it? People took action, like the Boston Tea Party, 1773. When we looked into it, it's clear that wasn't just some random riot.
No, not at all. Highly organized.
The Sons of Liberty, dressed up like Native Americans, dumping all that tea. It was a direct hit against British taxes and trade rules they hated. And Britain's reaction, that just threw fuel on the fire, right? The coercive acts.
Or the intolerable acts, as the colonists called them.
Yes.
They were meant to punish Massachusetts, make an example of them. But ironically, they ended up uniting the colonies more than ever. Everyone suddenly thought, hey, if they can do that to Boston, they can do it to us. Our liberties are on the line here. So by April 1775, Lexington and Concord, when shots were actually fired, well, that changed everything. The simmering resentment boiled over into open conflict. Reconciliation looked pretty much impossible then. It became a real, undeniable push towards armed resistance.
And that's the backdrop for the Continental Congress finally moving towards, declaring independence.
Yeah.
One thing that struck me reading the sources was just picturing that morning, July 4th, Philadelphia, the Declaration draft being read out loud. Jefferson's words about equality, rights, and all the reasons for breaking away, it must have been electric.
It really must have. And here's a fascinating detail that often gets glossed over. The Continental Congress actually voted for independence on July 2nd.
Oh, right. I read that. So why the 4th?
Well, the 4th was the day they formally adopted the text of the Declaration, Jefferson's document. That's when they approved the final wording and sent it off to the printer, John Dunlap. So, the 4th became the date on the document itself, even though the actual decision, the vote, happened 2 days earlier. Bit of a historical quirk.
Got it. So, this revolutionary document is adopted. How did the word get out? How did people react?
Oh, they didn't hang about. The sources show it spread remarkably fast for the time. Just 4 days later, July 8th, 1776, that's when the Liberty Bell supposedly rang out in Philadelphia to gather people. They started holding public readings of the Declaration, lighting bonfires, spontaneous celebrations popping up as the news traveled from town to town.
Wow, just 4 days.
Yeah. And the tradition itself, the celebrating, it caught on incredibly quickly. By 1777, just a year later, Philadelphia, New York, other places were having proper celebrations, fireworks, parades, the whole deal. Even George Washington, just a few years after 76, was calling July 4th the Great Anniversary Festival. It really cemented itself fast.
So, bringing our deep dive towards a close then, it's really been quite a journey for July 4th. From this incredibly serious world-changing political act to this huge national party celebrating freedom that we see today.
Absolutely. And its meaning now is, it's layered, isn't it? You've got the surface level, the popular stuff, the barbecues, the fireworks, parades, flags everywhere. And those things are important. They bring communities together, remind us of, the founding ideals like liberty and self-government. But July 4th is also, and maybe increasingly, a time for critical thinking, for reflection. It's a moment to ask, okay, who was included in We the People back then? Who is included now? And to acknowledge the very real, ongoing struggles for equality that are still part of the American story. You know, going back to Jefferson's words, that incredibly powerful line, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. It's an aspiration we're still working towards.
Right. So here's something maybe for you, our listeners, to think about. We see how July 4th celebrations changed over hundreds of years, from those first readings and bonfires to what we do now. What does it mean for us today, as we the people, to hold both things, to reflect on that radical promise of equality in the Declaration, while also seeing the long, sometimes difficult journey towards making it real for everyone? What parts of that legacy, that whole complex story, do you think are most important for us to carry forward now? Something to chew on.